Welcome back, everyone. Soldiers of Shoot. This week's Raw, we feature Roman Reigns, Ric Flair's birthday party, and a backstage creative change named Bruce Prichard. I'm here, Hollywood Edwards, with General Stames, and we are going to discuss our thoughts on the Bruce Prichard hiring, as well as two NXT theories that we are bringing to the table on this exclusive Soldiers of Shoot video. And we want you, that's right, we want you, down in the comments to tell us if either of these theories involving the NXT debuts are valid, and if so, which one and why, and who you think has the better theory. So put it on down in the comments. We'll get there after we talk about Bruce Prichard, but let's bring in General Stames. Stames, you and I currently are in a windstorm. It's like like a hurricane's blowing through. So let me say that if you're listening and you hear any banging in the background or trees falling or houses caving in, don't worry about it. It's just we'll be fine.
Yeah, it's easy for you to say. You're like in a bunker, 50 feet below ground level. I'm up in a damn tree house right now.
That's true.
Bro, can I ask you real quick? Have you seen this Ron Killing tweet with him putting his picture on a milk carton and asking, "Have you seen me?"
No.
He's holding the U.S. Championship belt.
Have you seen me? That's great.
Last seen in Hartford. Bro, that guy is a funny guy. No wonder Vince loves him. All right, bro, let's hear it. I cannot wait to hear your theory.
Prichard first. Were you not paying attention in the intro? Come on, you're confusing everybody that's listening.
No, I can't wait. I don't care what we do first. I cannot wait to hear your theory.
First, Prichard.
Yeah, dude, I would say a lot of mixed reactions out there. If you read the comments, and I went through yesterday probably a couple of hundred comments, and I would say, I'd like to say it was 50-50, but I would not be being honest if I said that. The truth is that there were more negative comments than positive comments about Bruce Prichard, and mostly about him being a quote-unquote yes man.
Yes.
Do you have any knowledge of that? Obviously he's known for that. Is there a reason why? I'm not really aware of that. He was back there in the day. What do you think, positive or negative?
I don't know about the yes man thing. I guess maybe that's people figuring out how he stayed there so long. But, I mean, when I think of Prichard, I think of pre-Attitude Era, during Attitude Era, and post-Attitude Era. So I'm not sure if he's a yes man or if he's just a good producer. But the curious thing of it is the sheets are reporting that this is a very, what's the word? Is important?
Yeah.
Important creative role.
Yeah.
Right hand of Vince McMahon. So.
Yeah, working directly with Vince McMahon.
Yes, directly with. So that kind of tells me he's probably going to be writing the show with Vince McMahon. And my question is the timing of it. Whether he's a yes man or not, why is he bringing in Bruce Prichard at the end of February when we have the biggest show currently in pro wrestling in 2 months?
Well, bro, we've been doing a lot of speculating over the last couple of weeks anyway about the WrestleMania card. And right now, correct me if I'm wrong, but we have Brock Lesnar going up against Seth Rollins, and then we have the Ronda Rousey versus, as it sits right now, Charlotte Flair. Those are the only two matches, correct?
That's it. That's all I know.
Do you find it odd that that's all we know this far in?
I do.
So is it possible that he's hiring Bruce Prichard because he doesn't know what else he's going to do and he needs help with that?
It's very possible.
So Roman Reigns is coming in on Monday night. Everybody out there, if you read, by the way, if you read those comments, people out there, you're insane. Seriously, wrestling fans, get a grip on your life. We don't know what he's going to say. First of all, you're assuming he's coming back. Secondly, you're assuming he's coming back for WrestleMania. Thirdly, you're assuming he's going to take the company back by storm. He's going to step in, he's going to beat Rollins, he's going to beat Lesnar, and he's taking over the WWE. We don't know any of that. And then you're insinuating, outright saying that the whole thing is a sham. The guy doesn't have cancer. It was a work. Come on, bro. Seriously. Do you believe that, Hollywood?
Yeah, we touched upon this, the Electric City Saint and I, yesterday. So if you want my comments, I'm not going to repeat myself. Go ahead and listen to that show if you didn't already. I said what I needed to say already on that, for sure.
So to me, if he's hiring Bruce Prichard and maybe he needs help, does Vince McMahon see his, world falling apart? He has no Roman Reigns, possibly. He has no John Cena. What the hell am I going to do? Is that where he's at?
He may be there. If you look at what's the rest of the card, obviously they don't know what to do with the WWE Championship because they're giving Kofi a shot at Fastlane. So they probably don't know what's going to happen coming out of that. They probably don't know. R-Truth has been absent. So that's that. Asuka just lost a match to Mandy Rose last week. That's that. They probably have no idea what they're going to do there. And then the tag teams, who the hell knows? Intercontinental, Finn Balor, who's he going to wrestle? Drew McIntyre again? I mean, what are we doing? He probably doesn't have this planned out. And that's terrifying to me as a wrestling fan, to think a month and a half out, he's hiring someone to help him get to WrestleMania. This isn't, Hell in a Cell. It's WrestleMania.
Dude, it seemed like it was so simple to me. He had Becky and Ronda given to him, dropped in his lap. He had already set up Brock and Seth. And, bro, now he's getting, again, right in his lap, he's getting Daniel Bryan versus Kofi Kingston. It's real easy. They have a match this month at a pay-per-view. You let it go the time limit and carry that on in the WrestleMania. Mm-hmm. And put the belt on Kofi. I think you could end the show with that, and the crowd would pop hysterically.
They probably would.
Which, when you think about it, is amazing in that it was just a few short years ago at WrestleMania where the crowd popped for Daniel Bryan winning the championship. Imagine if it's Daniel Bryan losing the championship, that would pop the crowd this time.
We'll get back to Prichard in a moment. I don't want to go too far down the WWE rabbit hole, but who do you think gets the bigger pop? A lot of talk about the main event. If Becky gets her main event gold and she closes the show, does she get her bigger pop than Kofi would?
Probably, and I hate to say that because I am so much in disagreement with that whole thing now. They have flubbed the story so bad it's not even funny. And we've been over this ad nauseum, so we don't have to go into it anymore. At least the Kofi thing is fresher. Again, it's organic. Dude, if you're Mustafa Ali, I mean, that injury, you lost that opportunity. You could beat Kofi Kingston right now because that was his spot.
Go ahead. Is there any possibility that Vince is looking at both possibilities and thinking neither are big enough?
Well, yeah. I mean, yeah, absolutely. I think he might be looking at every possibility and thinking none of them are big enough. And that includes Ronda Rousey and Charlotte Flair. But bro, that's their fault. They're the ones. We talked about this. So it seems like Vince felt like he had to have Flair in this match for some reason. Maybe because he didn't trust Becky Lynch. I don't know. I still think in the end she's going to be in the match. Do you?
Yeah, I do. I think she gets back somehow. I don't know how.
Now, if Bruce Prichard comes in, do you see him steering Vince in any other direction? You know, would he say to Vince, whatever, I just keep the match Ronda versus Charlotte. Get rid of Charlotte and just make it Ronda Becky. Make it the three-way. Daniel Bryan should go up against Kofi Kingston. Daniel Bryan should go up against AJ Styles. I mean, do you see Bruce Prichard being able to steer Vince in any direction? And if he does, is that going to be a better direction for us, the fans, or not? Because let's face it, dude. He was, you know, he had the book, if you will, at times where there were some decent things happening, but he's also had the book where there were some horrible things happening.
Right, and that might be where the yes man comes in. Vince may override him on certain things. Like, I got to think they're probably having a conversation right now. If WrestleMania isn't put together, and there's no reason why I think it is, we have no reason to look at that show and think anything like WrestleMania has been put together yet. But if he's talking to Vince right now, and I'm sure he is, on a Sunday night, he may be saying, look, you have a couple holes here in your story. And he may be bringing up the things that we've brought up about Becky and getting into the Rumble and all that stuff. I think we may see some of those story holes get filled on Raw this week. I wouldn't be surprised. And if it means Charlotte needs to be there and Charlotte needs to say, look, she shouldn't have been in the Royal Rumble. I want an explanation as to why I got screwed because I was the last woman there before she was put in. I would have been the last woman legally. So let's get Fit Finlay out here and do some explaining. Mm-hmm. And maybe Bruce Prichard will say, look, Vince, this is what makes sense. So what you need to do is make it make sense. Whether that means putting Becky back over on SmackDown where she belongs because you booked it that way, then that's what you have to do. Because these are the reasons why you're losing your audience from a week-to-week basis, a year-to-year basis. You know, it's things like that I think Prichard could fix. But is he going to be allowed to? If he would say that to Vince, Vince might just say, look, pal, sorry, but we've crossed that bridge already. We can't go back. So, again, handcuffs may come out on the creative staff. Who knows? But I'll ask you this, though. We know he was responsible for some characters. He's been there, you know, a good long time. And they did have better characters back then. Do you think we're going to see some obvious changes tomorrow night on Raw to certain characters?
Well, I don't think it could hurt as long as it doesn't get into the realm of ridiculousness, you know, or with
right.
Duke the Dumpster, you know, something like that. But, dude, you said it last week when we reviewed Raw, and I thought very keenly that, you know, it just seemed like if you're a face, you got to have a dream, right? That's the whole thing. Oh, it's my dream. It's my dream. It's my dream. Ad nauseum. Mm-hmm. If you're a heel, you have a beard. And even some faces have a beard, you know? Mm-hmm. And maybe Vince McMahon finally figured it out. Maybe he watched the show and said, oh my God, we don't even have a character here. Every one of these people are the same people. And to me, that's probably the reason of all the wrestling minds out there, right, that you would pick Bruce Prichard. Is that what you would say?
That's what I'm leaning towards. That's what I think. Now, I don't know, just as an example, Seth Rollins, what's his character? Previous Shield, now currently he's burn it down guy. What does that mean? We don't know. He has dreams and he wants to burn it down. Well, what the hell does that mean? Are we going to get an explanation for that? Is he going to have Seth cut some kind of promo like, I hate society and everything in it, and I just want it to go away and burn it down? Like, or are we going to make him an arsonist in a fireman's outfit? See, that's the thing with Prichard. You don't know. Like, if he comes out in a fireman's coat and he's like, ha, 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 I'm the crazy fireman arsonist, I want to burn it down. Those are the two differences, but we'll see what we get.
Well, I don't think, and that's the other part of it is, you know, it seems far off. But October the 4th, SmackDown is going to premiere on Fox. Not Fox Sports, but Fox proper. Dude, that is 10 months away. And they're going to be, if they're going into that Friday night spot, they're going to be taking down a show that is averaging between 6 and 7 million people watching on a Friday night, and they're going to plop SmackDown into that spot. Bro, if they're only pulling a 2.2 million viewer thing, how's that going to look? So, and Fox, we already know, it sounds like they're leaning toward having a more reality-driven show. So, is Prichard going to be able to do that with the, outlandish characters? I don't know. Maybe not.
I disagree with that. I don't think Fox is going to have a more reality-based show. They're going to have a more athletic-based show. That doesn't mean reality to me. That means fake sport.
Well, yeah, but there was some talk about they wanted it to kind of go along the lines as if it was a UFC show, the tale of the tape between the participants, right, and that there was an actual, fight that was going to mean something that, the people cared about winning and all that stuff. I mean, we'll see where it goes. But, yeah, it's going to be interesting. I will say this. I am very interested to see what Bruce Prichard will be able to do with Vince McMahon and see where it goes. Are you expecting anything huge right off the bat? Like, do you think, and I'm not asking you to say something like, okay, this is what's going to happen, but do you think that tomorrow night that you'll watch Raw and go, oh my God, you can see that there's somebody else doing this tonight?
Yes, I think. I'll give you one. I think the way the show is going to be set up, maybe the show kicks off with a match. And if that's the case, then we know Vince didn't write it. As simple as that, right? All they would need to do is start with a match, and we're going to look at each other and go, okay, somebody else wrote the show. So I think maybe the way it's laid out. I've been harping on this match ends and Paul Heyman comes out and Braun looks at him and they have a stupid choke and Braun doesn't say anything and then Braun leaves and then Paul Heyman's coughing and they go to commercial. And then after he's done, Finn Balor comes out for a match and they don't even say anything to each other and then Paul disappears and then it's a commercial. Like, I think stuff like that. If we see anything remotely different in the way that the show is set up, I think we can credit Prichard to that.
Because if it was Vince McMahon, we would probably put our money on the fact that the first segment would either be Ric Flair's birthday party or Roman Reigns' announcement. Correct?
Or Triple H, Stephanie, the typical yeah. McMahon Open, yes.
They should probably hold the Roman Reigns thing for the third hour.
I would, if they were smart. I would hold Rick till the second and Roman till the third. And again, something like that. If we see that might be. I'm sure Bruce Prichard would say that. Look, you're hyping Roman Reigns. You're hyping the birthday party. You don't put them on first. Did you forget that? You want the people to stay tuned. You don't want to give them everything in the first hour. So that'll be another clue that someone else wrote the show. But yeah, I don't think we're going to see anything drastic right away. But to me, as a viewer of that show, that would be drastic enough and it would be a positive change.
Well, sure.
Right.
Absolutely.
Now, before we move off to Prichard and get into these NXT theories that we have, prediction. Will Bruce Prichard change the show for the positive?
My answer would be that if Bruce Prichard was allowed to do what he wanted to do, yes, I think he could change the show for the positive. Do I think that's going to happen? No, I think Vince McMahon will still have his thumb on Bruce Prichard, and we might see little things happening, but no, I mean, because what happens when Bruce Prichard tries to turn it back into a wrestling show? Is Vince McMahon going to be okay with that?
Well, yeah. And that goes, the Electric City Saint and myself last night discussed the producers changing and new talent coming on screen and all that stuff. It's almost like Vince is saying, none of it's my fault. It's everybody else's fault. And I think that will stay true. So even if he's thinking to himself, Well, maybe it's my fault. Maybe I need someone to help me write this show again. I'll get Bruce Prichard. Like you said, the buck will stop with him. No one can override him. So if he thinks there's a bad idea, you're not going to see it. So
this new guy, the big story today is that they hired this Dave Schilling guy, another writer, and he's been with Bleacher Report and The Guardian and Vice and Grantland. And he announced on Twitter today that he was hired. He's joining WWE's creative team, but he's not joining for a month. Bro, we're talking about 2 weeks before WrestleMania. He's going to join the creative team.
Yeah, it's almost like he forgot. Like, could he be that senile that he thought WrestleMania was the Royal Rumble? Like, if you look at everything going on, he's making the roster cuts. He's bringing in creative people. He's firing agents. I mean, this usually does happen after Mania.
Yeah, it seems like everything's been pushed up a little bit. Absolutely. I would think that H might tell him, Dad, what are you doing? We're coming into Mania, not coming out of Mania. So
I will start with my NXT theory because although we didn't delve into these theories before we came on here, I think your theory may be bigger in a larger scale. So I think I want to save that. So I want to go first here. This is my theory, okay? I saw on Twitter the WWE tweeted that Ricochet and Aleister Black on SmackDown this week will be taking on Rusev and Nakamura. And I looked at it and immediately said, okay, now we are going to have Rusev and Nakamura put these two guys over. Why are we debuting them before Mania? We've been asking it all week on these shows here on the channel. Why are they getting over on everyone? Why are they making these guys look as strong as they possibly can? Is it by accident? Is Vince bored? Is Vince just out of his mind? And I keep thinking to myself, no, you're underestimating him. No, you're underestimating him. So I started thinking, why would you debut four guys six weeks before Mania and make them look strong if they're not going to be a part of Mania and he's not going to want them to look strong? This is the theory that I arrived at. And if you're listening, put it down in the comments because I really want an opinion on this. This is my thought. Brock Lesnar, contract will be up again soon. How does Vince get the title off him without cleanly putting Seth Rollins over him, which we all know would piss us all off because it's not realistic? How does he do it? Seth gets help. Now, the initial thought would be the Shield. Well, Dean Ambrose is leaving. Can't use the Shield. What's Roman Reigns' status? We don't know. Can't use Roman Reigns. We can only go by what we know. So in my opinion, the way you get that belt off him and back it on back to TV where it belongs is by putting it on Seth Rollins and giving him help to do so. So I am thinking, very possibly, I'm going to say, I'll throw down 80%. 80% that I am confident enough to say there will be a new faction born at WrestleMania with Seth Rollins as the leader, involving Ricochet, Gargano, Ciampa, and Aleister Black. Your thoughts on that?
Okay. Am I allowed to spoil here? Because my first question is
Electric City Saint did last night. So here's the deal, guys. And he said it quickly last night on a video. We apologize if we spoiled something, but if you're paying attention, you heard him say spoiler alert every time. This is another spoiler alert. Okay, General Stames is going to go somewhere here about NXT. So if you don't want to hear the spoiler, skip ahead 30 seconds and we'll probably be done.
So the question is, what are they going to do with Gargano and Ciampa then? So for them to both be a part of this faction, then that they're a tag team, then they're going to go to war, and then you think they're going to come back together like in a bromance thing at the end of a hard-fought battle?
Yes.
Okay.
So basically, they weren't together. Vince put them together. They're not together again. They're going to wrestle at TakeOver, and that ends in a bromance. So the very next night on Raw, or 2 nights later, I don't know how their weekend is set up. Not on Raw, WrestleMania. That's when they're together for good.
So what will happen here? Do you think, will Seth Rollins remain a face? You're looking at him to be a face with this, or are you turning him heel here?
No, he's going to be a face. It's going to be a face faction. The tag team obviously would be DIY. He's the main guy. And then you have Ricochet and Aleister Black fighting for, the minor titles or whatever.
So the face is going to win the title by cheating.
Correct.
Okay.
Correct. Just like Becky the face is beating the crap out of her 2 competitors at Mania, we think, with a crutch, and the crowd is popping. I think that's showing us something in the company that's going on. The face heel thing, the lines are getting blurred again because Becky's not acting like a face at all.
So my next question to you is, Mr. Writer, sir, what happens to Brock Lesnar at that point?
He goes away and probably doesn't re-sign a contract because he's so pissed off that he had to put Seth Rollins over, even with the 4 guys helping him, and he goes away. And he either goes back to fighting or he goes to AEW.
Is Vince going to be okay with Brock Lesnar in AEW?
It doesn't matter if he's okay with it. You think Brock gives a shit? Really? He's not Chris Jericho. Brock Jericho might run things by Vince McMahon. You think Brock gives a shit? He's going to the highest bidder.
No, I don't think Brock gives a shit. Absolutely not. But I guess my question is this. In Vince McMahon's mind, is he forced to keep that belt on Brock Lesnar so he doesn't jump to AEW?
I don't think so, because I think Vince is probably realizing the booking of Raw, and I'm not defending Vince here, but I could totally see a problem. If you're trying to book that show, in a sense, you can't book the main title because it's not on TV. Yes, Heyman is there to carry it on until the next pay-per-view, going back and forth with Seth or whatever. But I think Vince is looking at that going, I need to make that change because this is a big reason why no one is watching the show anymore. Would you agree with that or no?
Yeah, I mean, you hear a lot of people saying that they feel like Brock needs to be available in October for SmackDown for Fox. And I guess something could be worked out that he was off till then too. But boy, they'd have to get that all on paper ahead of time, right?
Yes, and they're going to have to pay him too, because I think they're paying him a hefty sum just to do these X amount of appearances throughout the year. If they're going to expect him to be there more often on TV, they're going to have to pay.
Yeah, they'd have to pay a lot.
And I don't know if at this stage if Vince is really going to do it.
What about Rollins as the champ? What are your feelings there? Is he the guy?
Well, we talked about this ad nauseum on the channel. I actually defended the decision to keep the belt on Brock, made the case for him, because there's nobody else to take it. So using that same logic, at this stage, without Roman Reigns, Seth Rollins is the top guy on Raw.
Bro, that is just hard.
It's hard to, I know, it's hard to accept, but I mean, we look at that and we see Bobby Lashley, we see Drew McIntyre, but the fact of the matter is, Seth is glaringly obvious the way he's booked, the way he's, treated. It's him. He's the guy. In Vince's mind,
This is a guy that you have made the comment in the past that in a different time, such as the Attitude Era, this guy doesn't even sniff the mid-card. Aren't those your words?
They are my words. Vince doesn't agree with me, apparently. I'm just looking at things from Vince's perspective, and I'm trying to fantasy book the way I think he's thinking right now.
Yeah, I don't know what to say about him. I mean, Ty Dillinger was okayed medically to wrestle. They didn't use him. Matt Hardy has been given the green light to wrestle. They're not using him.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, there's a lot of people that it seems like they could get back into the fold, but they're not. And it's becoming very mind-boggling trying to understand why. So there's Ty Dillinger, there's Matt Hardy, you got EC3, who they introduced. He had a couple of matches. They go away from all of that, and instead they're going toward this NXT thing. So you would hope that, to defend your theory, that there would be a reason for that. Mm-hmm. That it's not just some stupid, blind, bullshit that, if we put 4 NXT guys on, our ratings are going to gain 60,000 people, Right. Hopefully It's not just that.
We've been talking a lot over the last week, all of us, on air and off air. And I just keep coming back to the fact that he cannot be that stupid. We are all missing something. And I think that could be what we're missing. Now, I just want to say this because the thought popped into my head. I don't think Seth Rollins should be in the position he's in, but I'm not booking the show. But I wanted to say this. If I were booking the show, what I would do is, if I came in, I'm Bruce Prichard, this is what I'm telling him. Drew McIntyre is your star. I know what you've done to him. I know what spot he was in and what he is in now. He's a step away from 3MB and then leaving the company. So this is what we do, Vince. You go out there. You already muddled up the Becky situation, so muddle up the Brock situation. Go out there and have Seth get all pissed off at you, cut the heelest promo that you can. This is WrestleMania. You're not a star. Okay? That does two things. The fans go crazy, like, what the hell are you doing to my Seth Rollins? Vince replaces him with Drew McIntyre. On to WrestleMania, Vince and Drew McIntyre together screw Brock Lesnar. I don't care what you got to do, make it happen. The title goes on McIntyre. Next night on Raw, Vince and McIntyre are in the ring. Vince says to him, I told you years ago, pal, you're the chosen one. I knew it then, and I know it today. You're my chosen one. Congratulations, champ. And then what do? You have Drew McIntyre say to him, screw you, I did this myself, and lay out McMahon. You have the brand new babyface that's believable as your champion. That's what I would do.
I like it. And bro, what's nice about it is they could go back in time and show, Vince saying exactly what you said about Drew McIntyre. That's there. That's documented.
Mm-hmm.
So they would have that. And if McIntyre did lay Vince McMahon out, it would give him, he'd be an instant face.
Yes, I think it would work. Just
instant.
Boom, immediately. But since we're not on the creative team, I'm just looking at these NXT guys, General, and I'm thinking to myself, man, could it really be that easy? He just tried a ratings grab and that didn't work, and he knows it didn't work. So now you're announcing that 2 of those 4 guys are going to fight Rusev and Nakamura, and we're no dummies. They're obviously going over Rusev and Nakamura. I just can't figure out why. So the only thing is, I think that's their purpose. I think it's going to be kind of like a new Shield / new Nexus type thing with Seth at the helm.
Well, and the last time Seth had a title run, he did have some help like that. He had Triple H and he had J&J. I mean, he had a bunch of help. Had his own little faction, if you will, protecting him. Now, that was a heel run, a little bit different.
Right.
But I don't think it's that far-fetched.
Let's move over to yours, because when you told me the main idea, I cut you off because I wanted to hear it. I didn't want to do it off air. So let's hear this idea, and then we'll let people decide. Please put it down in the comments. We would love to hear your ideas. And I know we are fantasy booking like crazy tonight, but why not? It's Mania season. Let's have fun.
Well, you know Electric City Saint discussed the departure of Arn Anderson, correct?
Yes.
So Arn Anderson, it turns out, is wildly liked by the boys.
Mm-hmm.
And 2 of the boys that he is wildly liked by are Triple H and John Cena. So, bro, for McMahon to make this decision to let him go, this is not a small thing.
No, I agree. 100%.
So here's my idea. Could Vince be that genius that he's working the wrestling dirt sheets? He's working the smart marks. He's letting Arn Anderson go.
Mm-hmm.
But in reality, it's all going to come back as a takeover angle. That Arn Anderson and Bruce Prichard and maybe Triple H, because remember, Triple H was about to forgive Becky to make the biggest women's match in WrestleMania history, and Vince McMahon overruled him. We even heard last week when these guys came in from NXT, the story was Vince McMahon made that decision and Triple H didn't know anything about it until he got there that day. Bro, all of that could play into the story where Triple H, Bruce Prichard, and Arn Anderson try to take the company from Vince McMahon. Now, here's the thing. Would Vince McMahon possibly, and this is the far-fetched part of it,
Okay.
could he possibly have such an ego that in his mind he thinks the only thing that can save my company right now is me? Putting me back on TV, putting me back in the main storyline, I'll go in and save it again like I've done 100 times before.
Ooh, there's a lot here. Wow. Oof, I don't even know where to start. Now,
let me ask you this, though. Does the wrestling fan base have the stomach for another, takeover story like
angle.
this?
Yeah. I think on paper, no. But I think once they saw it and saw that the show there was a purpose for everything on the show, I think they'd be okay with it. Now, let me ask you this, though. Okay, so you're saying, all right, the Triple H and Vince thing makes sense because Vince came out and flexed his muscle. Maybe that was leaked on purpose for storyline. That Triple H didn't know Vince called those 4 guys up. Okay, all right. If we're doing that, so it's going to be Trips, Prichard, you got Arn Anderson in this thing. Bro, what talent? What talent do we have in it?
Well, that's the other part of it I was thinking about. These guys that have been released are very low-level guys.
Yes.
So I wouldn't think that it would all be based on them. But boy, think about this: if some of those guys who released were involved, boy, it would make them pretty much instant stars, right?
Yeah, it would. Yeah, it would. Well, Dean Ambrose.
Now,
Triple
bro,
H.
you and I both said that he wasn't involved in this. This was not a work. We said.
Mm-hmm.
So
I know we may have that. We would have major egg on our face then, big time.
But if it was a great story, so what? Right? So what?
Oh yeah. I mean, hey, if we're wrong, we'll admit it. I mean, whatever. We've been wrong before, but okay. So the whole point would be to take over control of the company.
So, and then remember, they just hired all these producers, these backstage people, and maybe they'd all be taking sides too. Jeff Jarrett, Joseph Park, he's an attorney for Pete's sakes.
Park.
You need an attorney, bro.
Oh, that would, dude. If we saw Joseph
Shane
Park,
Helms,
love it.
But here's the other thing too, bro. I think we're both giving them way too much credit.
Well, wait. Before you bring that up, you got the Revival that were pissed. You got...
Absolutely, yes. Well,
Nakamura and Rusev.
Yes.
They've been public about things. You could... Okay, the possibility of a major faction could be put on the table here, led by Triple H. I could see it.
And Triple H would love that.
Oh, of course. Oh, my God. He'd be the Vince, the Bischoff, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, now you were saying, okay, now that I could see it happen, I just needed that minute to see it. Now I could see it, so we're giving them too much credit, you said. So back to the original. You think he's just losing his mind doing anything he can for ratings? Is that what it is?
I mean, imagine we get to WrestleMania and WrestleMania sucks and it's all over and we're sitting there at the doctor's house and we're looking at each other and going, oh my God, there was no plan. There was nothing. They just threw the shit against the wall, see what's going to stick. And guess what? Nothing stuck. Is that a possibility?
Yes, it's very possible. But, dude, I can't see, it's strange because the freaking AEW card in May, it's almost all together. And they don't have a TV show. Yet somehow, at 2 stupid press conferences and YouTube, they almost have a full card put together. We can't even see a card forming for WrestleMania.
In April, a month earlier. Actually, 6 weeks earlier. That's May 25th.
How the hell did he get here?
Bro, he's got a lot on his plate. I mean, we've discussed the XFL. He's got that on his mind, He's got the ratings on his mind. He's got this Fox deal on his mind. There is a lot going on. And sometimes I think you could put yourself in a position of overload.
True.
Where you start thinking, have you ever done this? You start thinking about so many different things that the reality is you're not doing any good to any of the things. Because you start trying to focus in on one thing and you can't because you're thinking about this other thing. So he's thinking about the XFL because, no, wait, I got to think about WrestleMania. That's around the corner. Oh, but I got this thing coming up in October and they want me to do this. And This is a big deal. We're going to be on network TV.
Yep.
This is our big chance. I mean, bro, he's got so much going on. Maybe he finally realized, I need help. Now, the question is he calling on the right people for that help? You and I just had a conversation just a few days ago about his ability to have geniuses surround him and make him look like a genius. Is this one of those times?
It could be.
Or is he picking the wrong people? And if that happens, then what? Bro, if we get the Bruce Prichard from, Yankum and
93,
Trozy and all that stuff, bro, forget it. You want to see the ratings take a nosedive.
I don't know. I think there might be enough people backstage going, you can't go back to that. Like, it's impossible. These people are on social media. They're not going to comply with the kayfabe. Like, they can't reestablish kayfabe at this point. That you're going to have a dentist in the middle of the ring, right? Like, and I'm not talking a gimmick like Britt Baker. I hear WWE fans going, oh, AEW. No, Kane was dressed up like a freaking dentist, and he was a dentist.
Imagine him tweeting, I have molar surgery at 2 p.m. I mean, what the hell?
I mean, that might be actually funny, but yeah, there's no way you can control that in 2019. Yeah, I don't know, dude. Like, I want to say it's an improvement already because it's someone other than Vince.
Yeah, I'll go with that.
But we just don't know how much power he's going to have. All that stuff.
And bro, we've seen it before when, wasn't there a time where he hired Russo back and it lasted a week?
According to Russo, he said he got there and went into a meeting and he said this isn't going to work. Like, I don't know. Was he there for an hour or something?
Yeah. Wasn't Stephanie a part of that reasoning too?
Yes.
Didn't she? Yeah. And how do we know the same thing is not going to happen here?
Mm-hmm. And that's probably because there's an entire staff of people. Like, I wouldn't know how to write like that. Like, I'm not a writer, bro, but I mean, imagine doing something. That's funny. I mentioned Russo and I said, bro. So, bro, I can't imagine. Go ahead, task me to write something and then, let me run it by 30 different people. Like, what? How do you even do that?
Or if you're Bruce Prichard and you're going to sit in a room and you're head of creative, you only answer to Vince McMahon, and you're in the room with the 30 writers, and you're asking them to go ahead and pitch ideas. Bro, if this is you, Okay.
Mm-hmm.
All right, go ahead. Pitch me your best ideas. And of the 30 writers, let's say 20 of them have what you would think are just horrendous ideas. Like, what if you thought, well, I'm just going to fire these 20? They're terrible. Would Vince allow that?
What's that old game? You remember that old game that kids used to play in like the 1900s where, like, you know, because there was no internet, sit around in a circle and start a story, and by the time it gets wrapped around, it's completely different.
Mm-hmm.
That's the perfect example. Because everybody's adding their own piece to it.
Well, if you go through 30 people, I mean, imagine what it's like then.
And then Vince comes in and takes a shit on it.
Yeah.
Stephanie comes over, pisses in it, mixing up the chili, and then Prichard comes over and blows his nose in it. And pretty soon the recipe's screwed.
I guess it's going to all come down to how much actual authority and power Bruce Prichard will have. How much say is he going to have?
Mm-hmm.
Now, you do still believe that everything he wants to do is still going to have to funnel through Vince McMahon, correct?
Yes, correct.
So whether it's Bruce Prichard pitching this stuff, Pritching, or the 30 writers in the room pitching this stuff, or David Schilling pitching this stuff, doesn't matter when it all has to funnel through the filter anyway.
Well, that's another thing. If he's going to be very important, creative, right-hand man, maybe Vince won't be there sometimes. Like, we have to factor that in, too. Like you said, the XFL, like you said, the SmackDown thing. Maybe that is the biggest distraction right now because it's Fox. Maybe he'll turn over Raw some weeks to just, all right, Prichard, you're me. Go to town. I'm too busy with this Fox thing. I'm too obsessed right now.
What's bigger right now? This WrestleMania coming up in 6 weeks or that Fox deal in October? Which is bigger right now to the WWE?
The Fox deal. No doubt about it. No doubt about it. Let's face it, WrestleMania is going to sell itself anyway. It doesn't matter what the card is. And this is the problem. This is why the show sucks anymore, because he knows that.
So what's he got to do? Like, what's he got to do to save it? Did you see that The Rock was in Atlanta today doing something with that movie, promoting that movie, the Page movie?
No.
Do you know where they're at tomorrow?
Atlanta. Maybe.
Is there any, like, because wouldn't it be that easy? All right, Rocky, what do you want me to pay you? I need you at Mania.
I need you, pal. It's Flair's birthday. I need you. You got to be there. And this is what we're going to do, pal. I'm not going to write your promo. You're going to go out there and kill it like you always do, and you're going to be allowed to say bad words like nobody else is allowed to do, and you're going to say sexual references like everybody is allowed to do, and it's going to be great, pal, because you're going to bury my entire roster as soon as you pick that mic up.
Then I'm going to send out the 4 NXT guys, and you're going to just bitch slap all of them.
Oh, that would be funny. Why can I see that happening? Dude, I don't have answers to your questions. I don't. What do you think? I mean...
Well, I think we're going to have to wait and see. I mean...
Yeah, that's the best answer, I guess.
Hopefully, there is, like you're saying, hopefully there's a reason for all the insanity that's happening lately. How would you book this year's WrestleMania? Bro, I'm telling you right now, for me, Daniel Bryan versus Kofi Kingston would be a WrestleMania match.
Main event, though?
They've said so much about... They've been calling the Brock Rollins match the main event, and they've also been calling the Ronda Rousey match the main event.
Mm-hmm.
So, Yeah. Could you bill it as a triple main event? I don't know. Let me ask you this. If you were going to put Daniel Bryan up against Kofi Kingston and give Kingston the belt, and you were going to put Ronda Rousey against Charlotte and Becky and give Becky the belt, and you were going to put Brock Lesnar against Seth Rollins, doing your little scenario where those four guys help Seth and Seth wins the belt, what is the closing moment of WrestleMania?
Oof, you know what? First off, those are 3 title changes.
Yeah.
Whew. All right, let's assume that they would actually book 3 title changes. I would do it this way, and then I want your answer on this too, because this is interesting. I would do it Brock, Seth with the 4 guys first. Then the women. Then Kofi winning. I would close it out with Kofi winning. And I think it would start a chain reaction. Like, you see the Seth Brock match with the 4 guys. There's a brand new faction. Seth's your champion. People are going crazy. You got to calm down from that for the women's match. Now it's finally the Becky moment. And that, because that would happen prior, you'd probably look at the match and go, oh, okay, they're going to screw us. Becky's not going to win. And then Becky wins. And at that point, you're like...
there's no way Kofi's winning.
Exactly. And then Kofi wins. The fans... There would be fans saying that was the greatest WrestleMania ever. Because we got what we wanted in all 3, scenarios.
Now let me ask you this. If they did that, if Brock Lesnar lost his belt and Ronda Rousey lost her belt, would Fox be saying, what the F?
Nah, I think it's too far off yet.
Okay.
I think they have time to, build them back up or whatever. But they're going to, you know what? If they switch shows anyway, they're going to have to drop these belts anyway.
That's true.
Right?
Yep. Yep. At that point, would SmackDown become the number 1 show?
I think it would.
Bro, imagine a scenario where Raw is not the flagship show anymore.
They're going to have to upload it. What's the right word there? Front load it. They're going to have to put a hell of a lot of talent over there to keep up with network ratings, is what I'm saying.
Right.
Which could be bad news for Raw. What order do you put them in if you're booking?
I think the same order.
Really?
Yeah, I think if you're giving the victories, I think the same order. I mean, I can't imagine. I think definitely it would have to be Brock and Seth first. I think there's no arguing that.
Okay.
If you want to argue between Kofi Kingston or Becky, you could have that argument. Personally, I know there's a woman's revolution and a woman's evolution and all of that.
Mm-hmm.
But I just feel like in professional wrestling, women still, at this point, do not sell as much as the men sell. So I think you would have to put Kofi on last. Now, Vince McMahon may not believe that because they are, I think with this women's movement, they are trying to bring in more women fans. I do think that's the idea here. And if that's the way they're thinking, the way to do that is probably to put that match on last and let Becky win the title last and let Mania go out with Becky as the champion, if that's their thinking.
Yeah, but I agree with you.
But with Kofi Kingston, I mean, you're talking about a black champion, and you haven't seen a lot of that either, So.
Been there 11 years, And
I would think those two could put on a hell of a match.
Well, that was the other thing I was going to say. I think that's the best match of the three, too.
And actually, you wouldn't have to at Fastlane. I guess you wouldn't really have to let them go an hour. You could save, the big match for Mania.
Mm-hmm.
Hell, you could just have that goofy Rowan interfere in that match.
Hell, you're making a lot of sense, because I'm reminded of what stole the show at WrestleMania 3.
Well, Ricky Steamboat and Macho Man.
You say WrestleMania 3, and everybody says Macho Steamboat wasn't the main event. So, yeah, Vince may have to do that, because if he's looking at that, he's going, wow, should I close with Brock or should I close with Becky? I got to think somebody's going to go, unless you want another WrestleMania 3 to be burned in people's minds, you put Kofi and Bryan on last.
Bro, and think about that. What we're talking about, and it is kind of amazing, man. We should think about doing a show where we come in and just write things creatively, you and me. I mean, but think about this.
Okay.
Think about this. 10 minutes ago, we were talking about, oh my God, they don't even have a plan for WrestleMania. This could be the worst WrestleMania ever. If you put those three matches, those title changes in WrestleMania, it could go down as the best WrestleMania in the history of the WWE.
Especially modern history.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, and I'm sure we can come up with other ideas to fill out the card.
Yeah, we still have AJ Styles. Okay.
Yeah, we got the Usos.
There's a lot of talent there.
Yeah, we got a ton of talent laying around, and we could maybe we should do that. The creative meeting, we'll call it.
Yeah.
Should we do that?
We won't have Bruce Prichard though, so.
Nah, we won't need him. We don't need no Prichard.
And they bought Schilling right out from under us, so we don't have him either.
Yeah, Schilling's gone, so we can't do a 3-way show. 3-man.
It'd just be the two of us, I guess.
Well, we don't need anybody else.
So maybe this was our first creative meeting. You put together a faction to help Seth Rollins win the title. I have a whole company takeover going on.
Mm-hmm.
So let's see what Vince McMahon has in mind. My money is on there's no plan.
All right, let's leave it at this. Predictions for this week's Raw. I'll put it this way. Good show or bad show? Because that'll tell us a lot.
I think it will be better than the last 2 weeks. That's not saying a lot.
No, it's not. No, you got to then answer good or bad, because that would just be a degree of good or a degree of bad. You know what I mean? So.
Oh, man.
You're still going bad, aren't you?
Dude, it's hard for me to see them turning it around instantly.
Mm-hmm.
Now, there are a lot of people that thought last week's show was good because of the NXT guys.
It was terrible.
I'm not one of those people.
It was a house show. If anybody thinks that was good, they're on drugs. Or they're just plain blinded by the gold light of NXT.
I think that's probably more of it right there.
Right.
I guess I'm leaning toward another bad show, bro.
I agree, bro. I agree. I'm fully expecting a bad show.
And I hope they prove me wrong.
So do I. I want to be shocked.
Because it's not fun sitting through those 3 hours on Monday night.
Nope, but we're going to do it. I'll tell you what, I'm going to be there with bells on. 8 o'clock.
Yeah, and then at 11:15, we're on here going, what the hell are they doing?
They just hired Prichard. How could it be this bad?
Are they waiting for Schilling to show up? What's going on?
Schilling. I don't even know who he is. It's great.
Nobody knows. Grantland. I don't even know what that is. What's Grantland?
Never heard of it.
Me neither.
Grantland, pal. You got to hire him.
Bleacher Report. I've heard of that.
Yeah.
So there you go, Hollywood. We brought it.
All right. Listen,
I was just going to say, if you're listening out there, first time. Maybe you've been listening all along. The comment section is there. Make your voice heard. Give us your fantasy booking. It's a fun thing to do. Maybe you have a handful of matches. Maybe you only have 2 or 3 matches. Maybe you want to change a match that is already on the card. Let us know. What do you want to see for WrestleMania, and what do you think you are going to see Monday night on Monday Night Raw with Bruce Prichard?
We'll be back later in a few hours, technically.
You can count on that. You can count on that.
With the big 2-man Raw review.